Tonight, does it affect how you vote? We look at politicians and conviction disclosures as we head into election season in Saskatchewan. Also, the Canadian Medical Association offers an apology for past and present harm to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Plus, an interprovincial B-girl group in Saskatoon is smashing the glass ceiling in breaking.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, September 19th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. Finding a daycare can be a challenge for many parents, whether it's finding something affordable or a placement at all. But it can even be more frustrating for parents of neurodivergent children. Pratush Dayal explains.
It was a little disheartening. 1, 2, 3!
4-year-old Hudson Fink is on the autism spectrum, and that's made his mother's search for daycare very difficult.
I honestly have no idea why my son is constantly being picked out of all of the, he's always being considered the issue, right? The problem.
Fedor says she initially found a licensed $10 a day daycare spot for him. But when the daycare found out Fink had specific neurodivergent needs, she says they asked more money. Fedor complained to the ministry and the daycare dismissed the incident as language barrier.
The text was pretty clear to me. Send me $600 to my cash account, to my personal email. It's that's not a language barrier. That is full-on exploitation. Your kid has special needs. I can use this to get more money out of you.
The family has relied on support of others to make this year work. Then she found a center she liked, but she was told her son could only be there for 3 hours a day.
There was no daycare center, and there is still no daycare center.
Grace Onjaro was an absolute shock when she moved to Regina 2 years ago, as she couldn't find a single spot.
Unfortunately, I had to put my career on hold so that I could take care of my child until he was able to go to school.
She started the Sash LaBelle Early Learning Center to bridge that gap and accommodate more kids than an average daycare facility. But she says challenges persist.
As soon as they mentioned that their children had special needs, they lost the spots. Those are the type of parents we have right now. Parents who are like, where do I go? When I booked this 3 years ago, and now because my child is autistic, I cannot be taken in. I am losing the space to a normal child.
Earlier this week, Social Services Minister announced more than $1 million in capital grants for centers providing care to people with autism.
These funds will support the repair and renovation of essential program facilities.
Autism Center, Autism Resources Centers, those are also very much so needed, but a lot of those places are not a daycare.
The Ministry of Education says there has been an increased demand on regulated childcare spaces since the move to $10 a day childcare. Fedor says these challenges are all too common for families like hers, and she urges voters to think about these issues when heading to the ballots this election. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Environment Canada has confirmed a tornado touched down yesterday south of Whitewood. Now, it has not been given a rating, but a crew is on site surveying some tree damage to determine just how strong it was. Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins us now. This stormy weather is a bit unusual this time of year, no?
Yeah, exactly, especially when it comes to tornadoes, Sam. And you know, the last time that we had a tornado in the month of September, you actually have to go back to 2019 and EF0 near Griffin, just east of Weyburn. But this storm that we got yesterday near Whitewood was actually not the latest in the year that we have seen a tornado here in the province. We had one that touched down September 20th back in 1969 near Drake, which is south of Lanigan, and even one on September 26th back in 1977 north of Manitou Beach. Now, I chatted with Environment Canada a bit earlier today just about how unusual this is, especially now that we're no longer in kind of those prime summer months for this sort of thing. And here's what they had to say.
You don't need the perfect summer scenario for these events to occur. We just need these elements to line up, and they did yesterday. So in this case, slightly cooler temperatures than some of the tornado events that we've had in the past, and temperatures aloft were cool. So these thunderstorms were developing in an environment that allowed vertical motion, and there was enough moisture to sustain largish thunderstorm growth.
Now, this tornado brings us to a total of 18 on the year in Saskatchewan this year. That's slightly above the average of 14 tornadoes and definitely more than we saw last year. We only had one tornado in the province last year. Now, it looks like our weather is going to be calming down a little bit, Sam. I'll have a look at that and just how much rain we've received in my full forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
As the provincial election nears, parties are trying to beat their opponents to the quote-unquote bad news. Recently, one party disclosed which of its candidates had previous impaired driving convictions. The writ has yet to drop, but we were curious. How much does that matter to voters? Dean Patterson reports.
The Saskatchewan Party posted to social media that it has nominated a full slate of 61 candidates for the upcoming election. Of them, 5 have disclosed past impaired driving convictions. That's something the party says it's done for the past recent elections.
We do that to ensure Saskatchewan people are aware. And it's strictly a disclosure and transparency.
In an email, the party's executive director said 2 of those candidates also have other driving-related offenses, 1 each, and that none of the other candidates have criminal convictions. He also says he expects all parties to provide similar disclosures. Most parties say they will share that information when all their candidates are nominated. The NDP isn't finished with that nomination process, but so far, the party says 1 candidate has a previous conviction that has been disclosed for dangerous driving causing bodily harm.
We want people to have confidence in those who are elected. That disclosure is important prior to the election, but also conduct while members are elected is also very, very important.
The Saskatchewan Progressive Conservative Party and Green Party both say they will also disclose similar information. Others, like the Saskatchewan Progress Party, say they have no plans to make those disclosures. It says those convictions are public record, and it is focused on policy and responsible governing. Experts say it's best for parties to be transparent.
The reality of things like DUIs is they're hard to hide. If the Sask party doesn't disclose this, the NDP is going to find this out, or the news media is going to find this out.
Westlake says the 5 candidates seem to be running in safe Saskatchewan party seats. He doesn't expect these disclosures to change the election outcomes.
We've done it in the last number of elections where we've disclosed, and I'm one of the names. We've done it in a number of the last elections, and I'll let those results stand for themselves.
So, do people care? We asked some voters in Saskatoon if knowing about those impaired driving convictions would affect how they vote.
They should disclose it. I don't know that it would change my opinion. I don't like anybody, so.
I support a particular political perspective, and so I may be more forgiving of people who are on my side of the political spectrum than I am on people who are on the other side of the political spectrum, which is not fair, I realize, but it's also human.
The provincial election is scheduled to take place on or before October 28th. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Police have laid more charges against a former vice principal at Valor Academy in Saskatoon. Investigators declined to identify the 75-year-old man charged, but CBC has confirmed the man is Ken Schultz. Valor Academy was previously known as Legacy Christian Academy until its name was changed this fall. Before that, it was called Christian Centre Academy. Schultz has previously been charged with sexual assault and assault with a weapon. These new charges were the result of a police complaint received this June. Schultz now faces a charge each of sexual assault, invitation to touching, and assault with a weapon. He turned himself into Saskatoon police on Wednesday. The Canadian Medical Association has formally apologized to Indigenous peoples. The doctors group held a special ceremony in Victoria to acknowledge a long history of racist practices and maltreatment. Yvette Brandt has the details.
A tribute to all those who paid a price in a healthcare system tainted by racism.
The Canadian Medical Association is deeply sorry for the harms First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples have experienced and continue to experience in the Canadian health system.
Dr. Alika Lafontaine was the Canadian Medical Association's first Indigenous president. He says he's witnessed how the system treats Indigenous people differently.
One of my earliest memories of going onto a clinical rotation after being in the classroom for a couple of years was seeing two patients walk in right after each other, have the same set of symptoms, but one was asked to sleep off their drunkenness while the other one had full workup for a heart attack and a stroke.
The CMA's apology fulfills a call to action by Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The association searched more than 150 years of archives to own up to its past, while acknowledging the problem persists today. As documented by a damning 2020 report on the BC healthcare system, and the story of Joyce Echaquan, who live-streamed the verbal abuse of hospital workers as she lay dying nearly 4 years ago. Racist healthcare also evident in forced sterilizations and segregated hospitals.
I'm hopeful that doctors will start to see Indigenous people as human beings and go past just as a client that walks into their office.
Joyce
Echaquan's cousin says people have lost trust.
C'est sûr que ça va être dur d'accepter ces excuses.
She says an apology is hard to accept. The CMA promises it's just a first step. Yvette Brand, CBC News, Victoria.
Here in Saskatchewan, community members say the CMA's apology is a good first step, but they say more needs to be done.
My initial thought is it's about downtime. Because we see how these systems have treated First Nations people, and healthcare is supposed to be there to help you, not abuse you, not hurt you. We look at all the negativities that have gone on in the healthcare system of First Nations people, and it's unacceptable. So this apology is it's necessary, but is it going to improve the system? I hope it does, but it's hard to say.
Unfortunately, in my role, I do become aware of certain situations and experiences from clients in our communities trying to access care off reserve, and they're faced with discrimination, and they some people can feel when you have certain views about them. They experience longer wait times. Sometimes they're brushed off. You have that fear, and if somebody tells you that story, you kind of go to healthcare and you're like, okay, is this going to happen to me? If I go in and I'm sick and they find out that I'm sick, am I going to be sent away? And to this day, we still, have to send our people in remote communities to city centers because the resources aren't available in those small communities. And you have to work with them and you say, we're going to get you the care you need. You're only going to be away for, a certain amount of days, and then you can come back to your community. So our organization works on trying to bring services to them in their communities so we don't have to travel far and be away and, have that re-traumatization occur.
The association's apology cited specific examples of harm, including coerced sterilization, neglect, abuse, and medical experimentation. An organization that's been helping people make films for almost 50 years is shutting down. Since 1977, the Saskatchewan Filmpool Cooperative has helped members access equipment and training, but financial trouble, a $60,000 shortfall, is forcing it to close its doors in October. Its 70 members have been notified it will not reopen until April of next year.
I'm a filmmaker who got my start with the Filmpool. I have a career here in Montreal, and it's all owed to the support I received as a filmmaker. And I think you see in our membership that everyone has this sort of story and connection, and it's hard to see the organization, the difficulty it's been in the past while.
Graham says the organization has not been operating on a sustainable business model, and the plan is to reset so it can provide services for years to come. Innovation Saskatchewan is putting $400,000 into some nuclear research projects at USask's Fedor Centre. The extra cash will help pay for 8 different nuclear energy research projects, many of them in medicine. Nuclear energy can be used for small modular reactors, cancer screenings, and treatments. More than 3,000 PET scans are done at Royal University Hospital each year using material produced at the centre.
We're very happy if a project has to do with nuclear medicine or healthcare research. We would be very happy to have projects that have something to do with nuclear energy, the social and economic impacts of deploying nuclear energy in Saskatchewan.
The nonprofit relies on funding like this to advance its research. Today's money is in addition to the Fedor Centre's $2.5 million budget for 2024-25. Oh, it was another very rainy day in Saskatchewan. This is how things look today in Saskatoon. It certainly has brought temperatures down to a more seasonal range. So will the sun return for the weekend and the first day of fall on Sunday? Ethan will have your answer in his forecast after the break. Stay with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Employee pricing is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. You did warn me. An umbrella did me absolutely no good this morning.
Yeah, it was raining pretty heavily at times in Regina, Sam, and we have seen, of course, that rain moving through parts of the province today. And, of course, in western sections of the province, that's where the rain has been the heaviest. We now have some official rain totals. This is from 11 o'clock on Tuesday night through to 11 a.m. this morning. The Cypress Hills picking up nearly 90 millimeters in that span of time. A report just north of East End of around 65, and many other locations in the province. This is just 3 of the locations that had over the 50 millimeter mark, but there were many others, and others still there were well over 30 millimeters in parts of Saskatchewan as a result of that system that's been moving through. This is what's left of it, not very much. It's mostly now starting to move into Manitoba, and we've had a few lightning strikes along the Manitoba border just southeast of Yorkton, but other than that, our weather has turned fairly benign today. In fact, the clouds are now starting to clear across south and central Saskatchewan, Saskatoon. The sun has come out. Regina this evening, it has started to as well. And we've seen lots of sunshine out in western parts of the province today. But as this system passes by, it is bringing some very strong wind gusts, 60 to 70 kilometers an hour in both Regina and Moose Jaw today, and still quite gusty the further southeast you are in the province. Now, the next 24 hours, a bit of an interesting combination of clear skies and some increasing cloudiness because this system moves out, but then look what comes in behind this. Another smaller system which is bringing some rain to the Kindersley, Rosetown area, even as far east as Saskatoon as we get into the early morning hours tomorrow and for your commute. By the afternoon, that cloud cover moves eastward. I think the rain's going to be mostly in the southwest, but as we get into early Saturday morning, that could move into southern Saskatchewan. In Regina, we could see some rain before we get a little more substantial clearing as we head into Saturday. Another small system, though, going to make its way through the north into Sunday, bringing some rain showers there. Amounts you're going to notice here are dramatically less than what we've seen the last couple of days. Maybe some pockets of closer to 15 millimeters in the southwest. But generally speaking here, I think we're in for much less amounts, especially into central parts of the province. So what about the wind, you ask? Well, definitely going to be lighter these next couple of days. Maybe a little breezes here and there on Saturday, but much lighter than we've seen today. For Regina, this means that tomorrow we're looking for not too bad of a day, around 18 degrees. A little breezy Saturday. Fall starts on Sunday, and then the temperatures actually just kind of go up from there as we get into next week. Could even get into the mid-20s. Saskatoon, a little on the cooler side tomorrow, down to 15 degrees. And then the weekend actually looking quite nice. It'll be a chilly night on Saturday there, close to freezing. And then our temperatures once again bumping up. So yes, fall may start on Sunday, Sam, but the week ahead certainly looking a little more like summer.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We have more news after the break. An interprovincial bee girl group is smashing the glass ceiling on breaking. The Raw Honey Crew was started by 2 women from Saskatoon, and the Morning Edition Stephanie Langenegger caught up with the founders.
Make some noise, y'all. Christian, what made you want to start Raw Honey Crew?
So me and Nat had decided we need like a female support group, just because we're surrounded by b-boys all the time. Not to say that they weren't supportive, but I feel that female presence is like super important, especially if there's only like a small amount of us. And also it's very different to have other B girls who share the same like struggles as us, and that's why we decided to create it, because we were also having some of our struggles as B girls. And yeah, just having a group or a crew of like B girls kind of helped us get better at breaking. Well, like if I'm learning a move, most of the times it is taught for like a male body, and mine's a female body, so then my hips are like heavier, but it's not taught to us that, oh, we actually have to do it a certain way because our hips are a bit bigger. So just like simple things like that, they do like add up.
What do you both see for the future of this when you look around and see other young girls and what you're doing? What is your hope for this and the inclusivity of this space in the future?
Another reason why we formed the crew is just so we can host like events that are more inclusive to like just anyone in general, and especially like to uplift minorities.
And to add on, we want to also just create an environment where, so the thing is, breaking is really hard and it takes a lot of discipline. It's very hard both, physically and mentally. And we want to create an environment where, it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to not be great right at the start.